Good morning. Hopefully you're doing well. I've been looking at what it is we're going to study today in Genesis chapters 42 through 50. And I thought what I'd do just to start out here is, so we're in the story of Joseph. Last time we studied and looked at his life in regards to being thrown into a pit, being cast into prison, being a slave, being cast into prison, and then delivered from prison by the miraculous account of him being able to interpret dreams. Now he's been put in charge of all of Egypt, second only to Pharaoh, and whatever was asked of, whatever he asked anyone to do, he did, and basically said, he acts for Pharaoh. One of the things that was really impressive to me in our last study session is that Joseph, he told Pharaoh, because Pharaoh was kind of like, okay, so what do I do with these dreams? Now therefore, in verse 33 of chapter 41, now therefore let Pharaoh look out a man discreet and wise, and set him over the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh do this, and let him appoint officers over the land, and take up a fifth part of the land of Egypt in the 7 plenteous years, and let them gather all the food of those good years that come, and lay up corn under the hand of Pharaoh, and let them keep food in the cities. And that food shall be for store to the land against the 7 years of famine, which shall be in the land of Egypt, that the land perish not through the famine. And the thing was good in the eyes of Pharaoh, and in the eyes of all his servants. And Pharaoh said unto his servants, can we find such an one as this is, a man in whom the Spirit of God is? And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, forasmuch as God hath showed thee all this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou art. Thou shalt be over my house, and according unto thy word shall all my people be ruled. Only in the throne will I be greater than thou. What I was impressed with is that Joseph said, hey, look, this is what's going to happen. Now seek out someone that is wise and can take care of it. And Pharaoh, recognizing what Joseph did, said, is there anyone more wise than you? And what is wisdom? From where does wisdom flow? Well, wisdom flows from God. A little bit later on, we'll talk about King Solomon and his wisdom. But I've been thinking a lot about that, and something I saw Elder Bednar was answering questions at the National Press Conference. I don't know when it was. I didn't see the date. I don't know if it was recent or in the past quite a ways. All I knew that he was answering the questions, and one came up about his experience in running organizations outside of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and inside, and does he use that in some regard in order to, is that kind of the qualification to be an apostle? It felt like that was a little bit the question. What Elder Bednar said was that that's really secondary to what his primary thing is, which is Jesus Christ guides and directs this church and this kingdom. And more important to him is that he is in line with Jesus Christ, and that the gospel of Jesus Christ is the primary driver of how decisions are made and what should be done going forward. He said, now, I'm not saying that the experience that I had is not good. There's practical goodness that comes from that, but primarily it comes from trusting in God. And so as I look at wisdom and striving diligently to have wisdom, that's what Joseph did. In all of his circumstance, he was firm to the faith, and that the Lord then gave him answer to his prayers. And Joseph took and went about and stored food for the 7 years. And then came the famine. And that's what starts us into chapter 42. Good morning. This is Jeff Downs. Welcome to Streaking the Scriptures. I know that was a little bit of a long intro, but that was on the mind, and I wanted to go into it. We're going to study 42. The whole study block is 42 through 50. What I thought I'd do this time is read the chapter summary, so we get a lay of the land, and then we'll go into some of the different things that happened in each of the chapters and talk about those and how we can apply them to our own life in order to have more faith in Christ. So chapter 42, Jacob sends his sons to buy grain in Egypt. They bow before Joseph. Isn't that interesting? Remember the dream? The sheaves bowed before him. He makes harsh accusations against them, imprisons Simeon, and sends them back for Benjamin. Chapter 43, Jacob is persuaded to send Benjamin to Egypt. Joseph's brothers show respect to him. They all eat and drink together. In chapter 44, Joseph arranges to stop the return of his brothers to Canaan. Judah offers himself in place of Benjamin for their father's sake. 45, Joseph makes himself known to his brothers. They rejoice together. Pharaoh invites Jacob and his family to dwell in Egypt and eat the fat of the land. 46, the Lord sends Jacob and his family of 70 souls to Egypt. The descendants of Jacob are named. Joseph meets Jacob. Imagine that's a pretty joyful meeting. 47, the Israelites settle in Goshen. Jacob blesses Pharaoh. Joseph sells grain to the Egyptians. Pharaoh receives the Egyptians' cattle and lands. Jacob desires to be buried with his fathers in Canaan. 48, Jacob tells the appearance of God to him in Luz. He adopts Ephraim and Manasseh as his own children. Jacob blesses Joseph. He puts Ephraim before Manasseh. The seed of Ephraim will become a multitude of nations. The children of Israel will come again into the land of their fathers. 49, Jacob blesses his sons and their seed. Reuben, Simeon, and Levi are chastened. Judah will rule until Shiloh, Christ, comes. Joseph is a fruitful bough by a well. His branches, the Nephites and Lamanites, will run over the wall. The shepherd and stone of Israel, Christ, will bless Joseph temporally and spiritually. Jacob chooses to be buried with his fathers in Canaan. He yields up the ghost and is gathered to his people. And then 50, Jacob's body is embalmed. Joseph buries him in Canaan. Joseph comforts his brothers. The children of Israel multiply. Joseph promises that God will bring Israel out of Egypt into Canaan. Joseph dies in Egypt and is embalmed. So there we have it. In just a few chapters here, what was that? 42 through 50, so 7 chapters, 8 chapters. We have the reuniting of Joseph with his brothers and so forth. And there's a lot of lessons that we're going to learn here as we go through this. So let's just start in chapter 42 with verse 1. Now when Jacob saw that there was corn in Egypt, Jacob said unto his sons, Why do ye look one upon another? And he said, Behold, I have heard that there is corn in Egypt. Get you down thither, and buy for us from thence, that we may live and not die. And Joseph's 10 brethren went down to buy corn in Egypt. But Benjamin, Joseph's brother, Jacob, sent not with his brethren, for he said, Lest peradventure mischief befall him. Jacob saying, Hey, I'm preserving Benjamin. We're not going to let mischief befall him like Joseph. And the sons of Israel came to buy corn among those that came, for the famine was in the land of Canaan, and Joseph was the governor over the land, and it was that sold to all the people of the land. And Joseph's brethren came and bowed down themselves before him with their faces to the earth. And Joseph saw his brethren, and he knew them, but made himself strange unto them, and spake roughly unto them. And he said unto them, Whence ye come? And they said, From the land of Canaan to buy food. And Joseph knew his brethren, but they knew not him. And Joseph remembered the dreams which he dreamed of them, and said unto them, Ye are spies, to see the nakedness of the land ye are come. And they said unto him, Nay, Lord, my lord, but to buy food are thy servants come. We are all one man's sons. We are true men. Thy servants are no spies. And he said unto them, Nay, but to see the nakedness of the land ye are come. And they said, Thy servants are 12 brethren, the sons of one man in the land of Canaan, and behold, the youngest is this day with our father, and one is not. So in other words, we don't have Joseph anymore, and they didn't know they were talking to him. And they've got Benjamin, who stayed with him, so that's the 12. And Joseph said unto them, That is it that I spake unto you, saying, Ye are spies. Hereby ye shall be proved. By the life of Pharaoh ye shall not go forth hence, except your youngest brother come hither. Send one of you, and let him fetch your brother, and ye shall be kept in prison, that your words may be proved, whether there be any truth in you, or else by the life of Pharaoh surely ye are spies. And he put them all together into ward 3 days. And Joseph said unto them the 3rd day, This do and live, for I fear God. If ye be true men, let one of your brethren be bound in the house of your prison. Go ye, carry corn for the famine of your houses, but bring your youngest brother unto me. So shall your words be verified, and ye shall not die. And they did so. I'm not sure, as we've talked about the Old Testament and what the stories are, stories that are written in the Old Testament, the detail, the context of what's happening and everything that happened in between is somewhat lost to history right now. It's one of the things that I look forward to, hopefully in the resurrection, being a little bit more privy to what the actual goings on were that created these particular scriptures. What we do see here is that Joseph is somehow proving his brothers. And wouldn't you be a little bit leery if you met these individuals who had sold you into prison, had lied to their father that he was killed, and so they weren't expecting to see him at all. They had no idea that he was second only to Pharaoh. And so I would suppose that they wouldn't recognize him, that they wouldn't see him and understand who he was. It's somewhat, I've been, in different settings. So for example, if you've ever seen someone only at church and only in their church clothes, and then you see them, say, months or even a year later in a setting other than church, it's hard to recognize them right out of the chute. It's a different circumstance, a different context, and so it doesn't surprise me that they have no clue that this is Joseph. They haven't had any indication that he would be alive or even that he would be second in charge only to Pharaoh. But he was, and he's testing them a little bit. Send for Benjamin, and maybe knew that Benjamin was protected by his father because of what had happened to Joseph. Interesting setup here. So verse 21, and they said one to another, We are verily guilty concerning our brother, in that we saw the anguish of his soul when he besought us, and we would not hear. Therefore in this distress come upon us. And Reuben answered them, saying, Spake I not unto you, saying, Do not sin against the child, and ye would not hear. Therefore behold, also his blood is required. And they knew not that Joseph understood them, for he spake unto them by an interpreter. So here's another thing. He's making himself strange unto them. He's only speaking Egyptian, it'd be my guess, not Hebrew, if that's the language. But he's understanding them directly because he obviously spoke their language before he was sold into slavery. And he turned himself about from them and wept, and returned to them again, and communed with them, and took from them Simeon, and bound him before their eyes. Then Joseph commanded to fill their sacks with corn, and to restore every man's money into his sack, and give them provision for the way. And thus did he unto them. And they laded their asses with corn, and departed thence. And as one of them opened his sack to give his ass provender, in the inn he espied his money, for behold, it was in his sack's mouth. And he said unto his brethren, My money is restored, and lo, it is even in my sack. And their heart failed them, and they were afraid, saying one to another, What is this that God hath done unto us? So it looks like they're, took the corn and then didn't pay for it. They came unto Jacob their father into the land of Canaan, and told him all that befell them, saying. And I wonder too if the money in the sack was a little bit of a test, or was it Joseph being truly just charitable to his brothers? Was that what he was doing or not? I mean, I don't know. Good question, huh? Let's see here. Lord, the man who is the Lord, this is verse 30, roughly unto us and took for us spies of the country. We said unto him, they're talking to Jacob, we are true men, we're not spies. And he wants us to bring their younger brother. And it came to pass as they emptied their sacks that behold, every man's bundle of money was in his sack. And when both they and their father saw the bundles of money, they were afraid. And Jacob their father said unto them, Me have ye bereaved of my children. Joseph is not, and Simeon is not, and ye will take Benjamin away. All these things are against me. So Jacob feeling pretty picked on right now because his sons are all being whittled away a little bit at a time. Oh, man. As you think about this particular experience with Jacob, and maybe think about experiences in your life where it seems that many things are going wrong. They're not in the right. Things are not happening the way that you thought they would. Investments that you've made are not doing what you thought that they would do. Your children aren't doing what you thought that they would do. There's all kinds of different expectations that aren't met. And as Jacob was going through this, I've got Simeon who's bound. I've got Joseph who's dead. And now this ruler wants Benjamin. It can get to the point where you might lack a little bit of faith, where you might start to doubt. And that's where I turn to something we've discussed often in Ether, chapter 12, and just what Moroni, as he's abridging Ether's plates, highlights in regard to faith. And I think it's worth repeating again and again. Now I, Moroni, would speak somewhat concerning these things. I would show unto the world that faith is things which are hoped for and not seen. Wherefore dispute not because ye see not, for ye receive no witness until after the trial of your faith. I wonder if that's what was happening here. Even though Jacob had received promises from the Lord, there had been many different blessings that he had been given. And yet, our faith is continually tried. Why? Why, when it's tried once and you receive a witness, is it then tried again? When the Lord says, endure to the end, there'll be trials of faith along the way. And what is it about these trials of faith that's so important that we have them? In my estimation, the reason Jacob here and all of us are tried again and again is because to have the strength to receive the blessing of exaltation, it's necessary for us to grow as much as possible in this life. It's necessary for us to have reliance on the Lord with what President Oaks recently said in his BYU devotional, that we need to be humble. We need to put God first. We need to be humble. We need to serve and rely on others. In other words, bear one another's burdens that they may be light. You look at the baptismal covenant and what we have in Mosiah chapter 18. Here are the waters of Mormon, for thus were they called. And now, if it's your desire if your desire is to come into the fold of God and to be called his people and are willing to bear one another's burdens that they may be light, yea, and are willing to mourn with those that mourn, yea, and comfort those that stand in need of comfort, yea, and to stand as a witness of God at all times and in all places, and in all that in all places, that ye may be in, even until death, that ye may be redeemed of God, and be numbered with those of the first resurrection, that ye may have eternal life. Now I say unto you, if this be the desire of your hearts, what have you against being baptized in the name of the Lord, as a witness before him, that ye have entered into a covenant with him, that ye will serve him and keep his commandments, that he may pour out his Spirit more abundantly upon you. I have felt the Lord's Spirit. There's been, in the past few months, just a pretty difficult trial of faith through which I've been passing. And I have felt many times as I've kneeled in prayer, seeking to understand what to do going forward, the peace of the Spirit. And that even though it seems that everything is against Jacob here, the trial of faith is at hand, and he does not know that he will be delivered. But in every instance, I'm thinking of now Nephi, back with his brothers, tying him up on the boat. He did not know how that would end. He only believed in God and believed that the Lord would deliver him in some way or another. I think of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who are being threatened to be thrown in the fiery furnace. And they say, "Know this, O king, we will not bow down and worship thy God. And if our God deliver us from the fiery furnace, great. But if not, we will not worship thy God, O king." And they said, "Hear this plainly, but if not." It was one of the sayings, but if not. Those three words were one of the emphasis of my mission president when I was serving in the Washington, D.C. North Mission so many years ago. That teaching has stuck with me. Am I going to stay true no matter the circumstance? And more often than not, the Lord delivers. There's some times where delivery is not, in this life, in the cards. I look at Abinadi. He delivered his message, and then the Lord received his soul into heaven. He was burned at the stake. Alman Amulek saw the men, or women and children, probably men, women, and children who wouldn't give up the faith, that were burned and went to the paradise of God. So there are some times where in this life we will not be delivered. And there are more times than not where we are delivered in one way or another, be it physically, financially, socially, spiritually, whatever it is, we get delivered. Jacob's deliverance is at hand. There's starving, there's famine. He sees his sons being taken from him. He gets persuaded to send Benjamin. And there's still another trial of faith that is going to happen here, because they take Benjamin, they return to Joseph, and this is what happened. And the men took, let's see here. Let's go to, and the famine was sore in the land. This is verse 1, chapter 43. And it came to pass, when they had eaten up the corn which they had brought out of Egypt, their father said unto them, Go again, buy us a little food. And Judah spake unto him, saying, The man did solemnly protest unto us, saying, Ye shall not see my face, except your brother be with you. If thou wilt send our brother with us, we will go down and buy thee food. But if thou wilt not send him, we will not go down. For the man said unto us, Ye shall not see my face, except your brother be with you. And Israel said, Wherefore dealt ye so ill with me, as to tell the man whether ye had yet a brother? Jacob's like, Hey, what in the world? Why did you even tell him? And switched his name to Israel, but why did you even tell him you had a brother? And Judah said unto Israel his father, Send the lad with me, and we will arise and go, that we may live and not die, both we and thou, and also our little ones. I will be a surety for him. Of my hand shalt thou require him, if I bring him not unto thee, and set him before thee. Then let me bear the blame forever. For except we had lingered, surely now we had returned this second time. So Israel says, if it so be, take double the money, take your brother, go, we don't want to die. And the men took the present, they took double money in their hand, and Benjamin, and rose up and went down to Egypt and stood before Joseph. And when Joseph, we're in verse 16, saw Benjamin with them, he said to the ruler of his house, bring these men home and slay, and make ready, for these men shall dine with me at noon. And the man did as Joseph bade, and the man brought the men into Joseph's house. And the men were afraid, because they were brought into Joseph's house, and they said, because of the money that was returned in our sacks at the first time are we brought in, that he may seek occasion against us, and fall upon us, and take us for bondmen and our asses. And they came near to the steward of Joseph's house, and they communed with him at the door of the house, and said, O sir, we came indeed down at the first time to buy food, and it came to pass when we came to the end that we opened our sacks, and behold, every man's money was in the mouth of his sack, our money in full weight, and we have brought it again in our hand. So in other words, we're going to pay you back. So they're a little nervous, things that are going on here. And when Joseph came, let's see here, in verse 26, bowed themselves to him to the earth. He asked them of their welfare, and he said, is your father well? The old man of whom ye spake, is he yet alive? Just imagine hearing this. And they answered, thy servant our father is in good health, he is yet alive. And they bowed down their heads and made obeisance. And he lifted up his eyes and saw his brother Benjamin. It's, whom we spake unto me. And he said, God be gracious unto thee, my son. And Joseph made haste, for his bowels did yearn upon his brothers, and he sought where to weep. And he entered into his chamber and wept there. He washed his face and went out and refrained himself and said, set on bread. In other words, he just was crying. I mean, to see and to hear his brothers, or to hear his father is okay. Just all kinds of great things. Now, we get into the second test in chapter 44. So Joseph, they come to buy again, and he basically sets this up. Fill the men's sacks with food. This is verse 1, chapter 44. As much as they can carry, and put every man's money in his sack's mouth, and put my cup, the silver cup, in the sack's mouth of the youngest, and his corn money, and he did according to the word that Joseph had spoken. As soon as the morning was light, and the men were sent away, they and their asses. And when they were gone out of the city, and not yet far off, Joseph said unto his steward, up, follow after the man, and when thou dost overtake them, say unto them, wherefore have ye rewarded evil for good? Is not this it in which my Lord drinketh, and whereby indeed he divineth? Ye have done evil in so doing. And he overtook them, and he spake unto them these same words. And they said unto him, wherefore saith my Lord these words? God forbid that thy servant should do according to this thing. Behold, the money which we found in our sacks' mouths we brought again unto thee out of the land of Canaan. How then should we steal out of the Lord's house silver or gold? With whomsoever of thy servants it be found, both let him die, and we also will be my Lord's bondmen. And he said, now also let it be according unto your words. He with whom it is found shall be my servant, and ye shall be blameless. Then they speedily took down every man his sack to the ground, and opened every man his sack. And he searched, and began at the eldest, and left at the youngest, and the cup was found in Benjamin's sack. Then they rent their clothes, and laded every man his ass, and returned to the city. I wonder if they're like, Benjamin, how could you do this? What were you thinking? Oh, man. And Judah and his brethren came to Joseph, for he was yet there, and they fell before him on the ground. And Joseph said unto them, what deed is this that ye have done? Wot ye not that such a man as I can certainly divine? And Judah said, what shall we say, my Lord? What shall we speak? Or how shall we clear ourselves? God hath found out that iniquity of thy servants. Behold, we and he also with whom the cup is found. And he said, God forbid that I should do so, but the man in whose hand the cup is found, he shall be my servant. And as for you, get you up in peace unto your father. Then Judah came near unto him and said, O my Lord, let thy servant, I pray thee, speak a word in my Lord's ears, and let not thine anger burn against thy servant, for thou art even as Pharaoh. My Lord asked his servant, saying, Have ye a father or a brother? And we said unto my Lord, We have a father, an old man, and a child of his old age, a little one, and his brother is dead, and he alone is left of his mother, and his father loveth him. And thou saidst unto thy servants, Bring him down unto me, that I may set mine eyes upon him. And we said unto my Lord, The lad cannot leave his father, for if he should leave his father would die. And thou saidst unto thy servant, Except your youngest brother come down with you, ye shall see my face no more. So Judah's negotiating here and telling the story of what's happening and how significant it is. And I think that this leads to, the final point that I want to make. There are times in our lives when something happens, this out of their control. Joseph set them up. And it was not done of their own accord. So something happens in our life that's not of our own accord. What then do we do? Judah here, I think, is showing a pattern and a template of petitioning. And I believe that we can petition the Lord, even though the Lord blesses us with so much and we are eternally indebted to him. He also asks us to come to him and to ask. And we can petition and say, Lord, these are the things that I've been striving to do to keep thy commandments. Now, this is not a quid pro quo. In other words, it's not, I've done these things, Lord, I'd love for you to do these things for me. That is not what that is about. It's more a petition of appreciation and gratitude, and a petition to show that I'm willing to keep the commandments, Lord. I'm willing to do as thou hast asked. And I would ask that thou wilt help me in this particular instance. And so Judah here appealing to Joseph, please don't keep our brother. Our father would die. And Joseph hearing this out, then, we know a little bit, well, we know the story. We'll cover it a little bit more in our next study session. But Joseph goes ahead and does something a little bit interesting. And Judah, again, this petitioning to the power at B. I also think of the parable of the widow who petitioned the judge. And the Lord wants us to petition him. He wants us to see what it is that he has done for us and to ask him freely for those things which we need, and to ask for those in need, and to be willing to do what the Lord asks. It's an interesting concept because he's already given us everything that we have, and therefore to petition him for something more seems a little bit awkward, uncomfortable. And yet he still asks us to do that. Interesting. Well, thanks for studying with me today. I've enjoyed it. We are in Genesis chapter 44, the story of Joseph. If you have any thoughts or ideas or comments about petitioning the Lord or anything else we've discussed today, I'd love to have an email from you. Shoot me an email at Jeffrey, Jeffery, at mystreaksapp.com. Until we study together again, I hope you have a marvelous, fantastic, wonderful day. Remember to have charity in traffic, and as always, keep streaking the scriptures.